Parshas Zachor. Parshas Zachor, we learn in the Torah the commandment to destroy Amalek because of the terrible, terrible Maisa that they did, that they attacked Klal Yisrael when they came out of Mitzrayim. And in the Haftarah, we learn in Shmuel the commandment that Shaul HaMelech was given to destroy Amalek. Shmuel HaNavi commands Shaul, and he says, Ko amar Hashem tzvokos bakarati es asher asa Amalek l'Yisrael asher samlo b'derech ba'alosim Mitzrayim. Ata lech v'kisas Amalek. Go now, you attack Amalek, v'chramtem es kol asher loy, and destroy them, obliterate them. V'lo yisachma alav, have no mercy. V'imata mi'ish ad isha ma'oil v'ad yonik mishor v'ad sem migamal v'ad chamor, and completely obliterate them, destroy them completely, men, women, even the cattle, even the behemoths, to destroy them completely. Shaul HaMelech takes up the charge. They go to battle, and they're killing out Amalek until the point where it comes, V'yachmal Shaul v'ha'am al agaga v'al meita v'atzayin v'aboker v'hamishne v'alakar v'kol etzayiv v'layova achrimen v'chol ha'malocha nimiza v'nomes oisa v'hechrima. So it came to the point where they couldn't continue. They had mercy, and it was too difficult to continue. They couldn't continue killing out. They didn't kill out Agag, Melech Amalek, and they did not wipe out the cattle, the behemoths, so they stopped. They did not complete the mission. V'hidvar Hashem el Shmuel leimor nechamti ki imlachti Shaul HaMelech. Says, I have nechamti, that Shaul is the king. Ki shav ma'achrei v'zdvar lo yehekim. He did not keep my word, my commandment. V'yicher l'Shmuel v'yizak el Hashem kol halayla. So the Rebbeinu Shalom told Shmuel that nechamti ki imlachti as Shaul, and Shaul will no longer be the king. He did not carry out my commandment, and therefore he's no longer the king. So Vayash came Shmuel, Nikra Shaul b'Baikim. Shmuel goes now to greet Shaul, to confront Shaul. Vayavai Shmuel Shaul. So Shmuel HaMelech hears that Shaul HaMelech hears that Shmuel is coming. Vayav Shmuel Shaul, Vayomer lo, so Shmuel came to Shaul, Vayomer lo Shaul, Baruch Atzol Hashem, Hakim Moisei Dvar Hashem. Incredible. So Shaul HaMelech, now he greets Shmuel HaNavi, and he says, Baruch Atzol Hashem, Hakim Moisei Dvar Hashem. I fulfilled the commandment of the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's incredible. Well, who does he think he's fooling? He's fooling. He's going to fool Shmuel HaNavi. He says, I fulfilled my commandment. Vayomer Shmuel. So Shmuel says to him, fulfilled your commandment. Well, what's the sound of this animal? These animals that I am hearing. If you fulfilled your commandment, the commandment was to destroy them completely, including the behemoths. So what's the call of the behemoth that I hear? So Shaul says, well, yeah, they're from Amalek. As if there's no problem over here. What's the problem? Yes, they're from Amalek. And the Ha'am, the people, they had Rachmanis, Asher Chomal Ha'am al Meitav Atzayin. So we decided that we're going to take these behemoths, we mocked them for a carbon, but the rest of them we wiped out. We killed the rest of them. And this, the nation, the they had Rachmanis, they didn't want to do it. We decided we're going to use it for karbanos, but the rest of it we wiped out. As if there is no problem, as if nothing is wrong over here, everything is fine. Everything's fine. The commandment was to wipe them out completely, to destroy them completely, and not leave anything behind. Mishor v'adsem migamal v'chamor, to completely destroy them, and now, as if nothing is a problem, as if there's no problem whatsoever, Shaul says to Shmuel, Kiyamti Dvar Hashem. What is the pshat over here? What does this mean? Vayemer Shmuel al Shaul. I'll tell you what Rabbi Shalom told me. Vayemer Shmuel. So Shmuel answered back an incredible response. I mean, the response we would think would be is, what do you mean? What do you mean? How dare you tell me that you completed the commandment of Hashem, Kiyamti Dvar Hashem? You have all these animals over here, you were supposed to wipe them out. But what does he say? What does Shmuel, how does he respond to Shaul? He says, if you're small in your eyes, if in your eyes you're very small, you're insignificant, but you should know that you're the head of Klal Yisrael. And he anointed you to be the king. And therefore you are no longer the king. So what is this dialogue over here? What is the meaning of this? What is Shaul? How can he say Kiyamti Dvar Hashem? How can he claim that he kept the word of Hashem and he kept the mitzvah when it's so obvious and clear that he did not? It would appear. And why doesn't Shmuel answer back to him just plain and simple? You were supposed to kill out the animals, and you didn't. So what is the meaning of this? If you are insignificant in your eyes, but you're the head of Klal Yisrael. What is the meaning of this answer? Perhaps the pshat is as follows. There's a machlokes between the Chinuch and the Rambam. Is the mitzvah of Bechias Amalek, to destroy Amalek, is that on every single individual person? Is that every person has his own personal chiyuv, just like a person has a chiyuv? He has a chiyuv to go in the sukkah, to take a lulav. He has a chiyuv, a mitzvah, to kill out Amalek, which is what the Chinuch maintains? Or is it, no, it's a mitzvah on the tzibur. It's not a mitzvah on a particular person. It's not that Yaakov, Moshe, have a mitzvah to kill out Amalek. It's a collective on the nation as a whole. It's the nation as a whole as a mitzvah. But not al kol yochid v'yochid, but not on every individual. And that's what the Rambam says. The Rambam maintains that it's a mitzvah on the tzibur. The Meshech Chochmah brings the raya to the Rambam, because years later we find that David HaMelech attacked Amalek. David HaMelech attacked Amalek, and he took the cattle. They took it for themselves. They attacked Amalek. They wiped them out, and they took the cattle for themselves. That area, that Yishuv where the Amalek was residing, they killed them up, but they took the cow. So how is David HaMelech allowed to take it? Struck the Meshech Chochmah, because at that point he was not yet the king. Shaul was still the king. He wasn't the king yet. So he was only acting as a yochid, as an individual. And as an individual, he didn't have the chiyuv of Mechias Amalek to destroy them out completely. So therefore he was allowed to take the biza, the bounty from Amalek. So that's a machlokes. Is it on the tzibur or is it on each yochid v'yochid? So perhaps this is what Shaul is answering to Shmuel HaNavi. He says, Kiyamti Dvar Hashem, I fulfilled the tzivur of the Rabbeinu Shalom. What do you mean you fulfilled the tzivur of the Rabbeinu Shalom? What's all this cattle? Yes, I fulfilled them because so long as the nation was with me, so long as the nation was now willing to participate and they wanted to come together and destroy Amalek, then they were at Tzibur, they were the nation at Tzibur and so we killed out all the animals, we killed out Amalek. But then the nation, Chomal, then they had mercy, they didn't want to continue anymore. They already gave up. They didn't want to continue. They had mercy on all of the animals, and they didn't want to continue. At that point, I'm only a yochid. I'm only an individual. So as long as the nation was together, as long as they were behind me, we continued. We took it to the point where they were not willing to do it anymore. At that point, I'm a Yochid, we're a Yechidim, so there's no more mitzvah, Mechias Amalek. So Kiyamtis Dvar Hashem, I fulfilled it to the point where we were a nation, we were together, we were a tzibur, and we fulfilled it at that point, the point where from there on, they no longer wanted to do it. We're all Yechidim, we're all individuals, there's no more Chiv to do it. So Shmuel HaNavi answers back to him and he says, Im katan ata beinecha, if in your mind you're looking at yourself just as a Yachid, a katan, just who am I, what am I, I'm just a Yachid, there's no tzibur. But Rosh Shiftei Yisrael, you are the head of the nation. You are the nation, the leva of the nation. You can't look at yourself just as a Yachid. You can't look at yourself just like any other person in Klal Yisrael. What do you mean that they didn't want to continue and therefore were Yechidim? Im katan ata beinecha, if in your eyes you look at yourself as insignificant and small and just a Yachid and there's no Chiv on Yachid, but you were anointed to be the king, to be the leva of the tzibur, of the nation, to lead the nation, to lead them and unify the nation, not as a Yachid, not as a Katan. So what's the consequence of that? The consequence of that is that Shaul lost the Malchus. He no longer became king. He viewed himself as being a Yachid, as being a Katan, and that's what happened. That was the consequence. He became a Yachid, he became a Katan. He lost the Malchus. And that's a fundamental lesson for each and every one of us, because every one of us in a certain capacity, we can't look at ourselves just as a Katan, just as who am I and what am I. Every single one of us, in a certain capacity, are a Rosh Shiftei Yisrael, Rosh Mishpacha, each one of us for a parent. A Chosen doim l'melech. A Chosen is like a king, and a Kala is a Malka. What does that mean? That means in their family, that's being the head of a family. That's Malchus. You can't look at yourself just being a Yochid, just being an insignificant person. It's Malchus. You have to lead the family. Everybody in a certain way, if they have a certain position in community, have certain achrayas to lead and elevate, to show by example, and not to view themselves as being just a katan. When I was a chosen, my Masar Kedushin was my Rosh Yeshiva of Shner Kotler Zatzal, and he said, Chosen doim l'melech. A chosen is doim to melech, is like a king. So what happens after the chasana? He gets dethroned, he gets demoted. He said, no, the pshat is not that a chasan is daima to a melech, and then after the chasan is ois melech, he's no longer a melech. The chasan is daima, the chasan is the coronation. That's the coronation, that's the beginning, he's the melech. And this is his malchus, this is his family's his malchus. He has to lead this melucha, this malchus, he has to lead it. This is the coronation of the melech. There's a melech and a malka, and they have an achrayas, and they have to raise and elevate and direct and be manhig. And they're manhigim. They're manhigim in Klal Yisrael, who have to view themselves with an achrayas to unify and elevate that tzibur. And everybody from time to time, everybody in their capacity cannot view themselves as being a katan, just being as a katan alta beinecha. They have to firmly realize that at this point in time, they're not katanim. They're rosh, they're heads of whatever area they're in. But from time to time, they have to realize that now, at this juncture, I can't view myself as being a katan. I can't just view myself as being a kotan and an onav, even though I have to be an onav, but now I have to rise to the occasion and be a rosh. Kotan ata beinecha, rosh shifta Yisrael achsa. I know of a Rav. When he became the Rav, so till then he was wearing just a suit, and he had a shaila whether he should now wear a frock. He asked his father who was a very, very influential, prominent Rosh Hashiva, who did not wear a frock, who just wore a regular suit. So he asked his father, what should he do? His father said, put on a frock. Somebody asked him, but he says, but Tati, you don't wear a frock. He says, I don't wear a frock because I'm acknowledged as being a manhig. I'm acknowledged as being a manhig. And therefore I don't need the frock, and therefore the midas of anova, of humility, therefore directs me not to wear a frock. But you are becoming a Rav. You're not an acknowledged leader. You will not be viewed, and you will not view yourself as being a manig. You will fall into the temptation, and people will fall into temptation, looking at you just as a kotan. But you're not a kotan now. You have to be a manig now. You have to direct, and you have to elevate Klal Yisrael. So put on the frock. And each one of us, in our own capacities, have to acknowledge and rise to the occasion of when we're called upon to be Rosh Shifta Yisrael.